I thought the reunion scene between the two sisters was horrible.
Horrible? Why?
Yeah. Because when I watched season 1, which was one of the most emotional seasons of television I ever watched, when Jinx decides to pull out that flare, the blue flare, right? And I'm like, oh my God, because at that time you just want these two sisters to be together. Please let them be together. And she pulls out the flare, and I'm like, oh my God, how absolutely emotional impact that was, the outreach to her sister to please come. And then you get and she's not there, and all of a sudden she is there. You're like, oh my God, this is it. We're gonna be. And then the lesson of that scene is that it's irreconcilable. And that's also such an important punch, that you got the emotional punch of the outreach of Powder Jinx in that. Please, can my sister please come? And you get the moment, well, maybe she doesn't. No, she does. And then you get the realization that this situation is irreconcilable. To have those people, to have her show up in a mirror and say, hey, hey, our fathers. The idea that you would do that you would undercut the absolute one of the most emotional things that have ever been put on television, which one of the other was Silco embracing Jinx, talking about how these two are irreconcilable, and how every emotion that you felt, that you're going to get such an absolutely unemotional scene in that fighter pit cell when they show up. I thought that was unexcusable. I thought that was
fire pit cell.
Well, whatever, it's in her fighter pit cell where she's sleeping. She's a pit fighter, and she's sleeping in like that little one room thing, right? And then Jinx shows up, and it's like, if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna bring those two back together and you're gonna reconcile them, you better damn well make sure that hits me emotionally 10 times more than their split up. And
I'll agree
with a thing.
I mean, it did for me, just not that scene. It was like, when they finally reconciled, I guess. But.
Well, I will agree that I did note that the reunion was extremely underwhelming. However, it was Heath, you got a point, but the story moved on and they re-engaged at a new level enough that I was moving on with them, and then I forgot about that note, and I kind of got caught up in their new drama. And the fact that Vander's alive is kind of a game changer in this act.
It's the only thing that could possibly bring them back together, right? Is having family in common.
Well, I'll say this. So the archetype of the sacred fire is one of the most important things that has returned by episode 5. And remember, sacred fire is both your individual cause, the flame that you hold, but it's also the continuity of your identity from your native culture. Where you came from always matters. It's really hard for characters to completely not care about where they came from. Usually their family and then their culture. That's all missing until Vander comes back in the picture, because Vander restores something of that continuity, the communal fire that both Jinx and Vi share. And so his return to this story restores a sacred fire of sorts. It gives Vi a renewed memory of her identity, who she was when he was around, and it restores some of Jinx's. And it's very clear that Vander's presence in this story has restored this flame, and that both of these sisters are responding to the restored flame with that continuity possible again. It's the idea, maybe we're still part of something. We were part of something with Vander, and then it all went away, and now this world's gone to hell, and on two different sides. It's like, but Vander's back. It's like, well, that changes things. We're still part of this thing that we thought was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So the sacred fire is important because it has such a powerful impact on identity, both individual and the identity that you come from, that was handed to you when you were born. You didn't choose any of your past, your culture. You didn't choose any. It's there. It's handed to you. So that's part of your identity. And that had a powerful impact in the storytelling in episode 5 and then 6.